There are relationships. Not violent. Not loud. No intense arguments. Yet they wear you down little by little. Not because they are bad, but because they don't truly love you. They are present, but never truly stay. They say they miss you, but disappear during the day. They are gentle when convenient, but indifferent when you need them most. And then, you gradually lose yourself in what seems like love. This isn't a video to condemn anyone, but to awaken you, gently and sincerely. Because true love doesn't make you feel lonely even when someone is beside you. True love doesn't make you doubt your worth. And true love doesn't leave you as the only one trying to keep the relationship alive. Sign 1, they text you at midnight saying they miss you, but disappear during the day. There's a silent yet familiar pain hidden in this behavior, the feeling of being missed only when they're lonely, but forgotten when they're okay. Messages arrive late at night, when the world is quiet and emotions often surge. They say they miss you, making your heart flutter, as if there's a special connection. But then, when the sun rises, they vanish, and you're left with hundreds of unanswered questions. They only appear when they want to, without considering your feelings. This isn't a connection. This is a conditional, temporary presence. They don't truly see you, they only seek you when they need an emotional fix, a soothing of their emptiness. And once they're okay, they withdraw, as if you never existed. If you've experienced this, you understand. The pain doesn't lie in their disappearance. The pain lies in the fact that you believed you truly mattered. You wait, you wonder, you ask yourself if you did something wrong. But the truth is, you did nothing wrong. You're just placing your heart in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to cherish it. This is indicative of an imbalanced relationship, where one person only comes when they feel lacking, while the other always gives unconditionally. Such individuals often exhibit emotional exploitation. They don't seek connection, they seek an emotional pit stop to recharge. The danger is, if you're not aware, you'll start defining your self-worth by how often they miss you, rather than by how they truly show up. If you're loving someone who only comes when they need to, remember, you weren't born to be a temporary stop for someone. You were born to be loved wholly, day and night, and in every unspoken moment. Don't let anyone teach you that love is something that comes and goes at convenience. You deserve someone who stays. Sign 2, they show care when you're near, but are cold when you need them most. They only want you when it's convenient for them. There are people who, when you're physically present, they're gentle, warm, as if the world consists of just the two of you. They laugh when you laugh. They stroke your hair, hold your hand, whisper words that make you believe, this is where you belong. But then, on days when you feel most vulnerable, they're silent. In moments when you truly need a hug, a message, or simply someone to listen, they disappear. Cold. Distant. No reason, no explanation. Just, they're not there. And you start to wonder. Am I asking for too much? Am I wrong to need them? Are they only good to me when it's convenient for them? The hurt here doesn't lie in what they do when they're near, but in their absence when you're down. You begin to realize they don't love you. They love the feeling you bring when everything is easy for them. This is a sign of a relationship not built on love, but on convenience. They want you when you're cheerful, full of energy, able to make them feel good. But when you need support, someone to walk with you through the darkness, they withdraw, as if that responsibility isn't theirs. This is a one-sided connection, where you're the one maintaining it, while they just enjoy. Such affection makes you start adjusting yourself to be easier to love, not too sad, not too tired, not too troublesome. Gradually, you lose the right to be vulnerable in your own relationship. If you're loving someone who only stays when everything is easy, remember, true love isn't about being present in joyful times, but about being patient during tough times. You don't need to always be radiant to deserve care. You don't need to be convenient to remain in someone's heart. Someone who truly loves you won't just walk with you when the sun shines, but will stay even during storms. Sign 3. They avoid talking about the future, they live only in the present. They're afraid of commitment, afraid of responsibility. You once sat there, eyes full of hope, and asked them a simple question. So, where are we headed? And they fell silent. Or changed the subject. Or gave a vague answer like, why don't we just enjoy the moment? It sounds harmless. Maybe even mature. But something in your heart quietly sank. Because you're not just looking for a feeling in the now. You're searching for a journey. You want to build, to trust, to walk side by side, not just today, but tomorrow too. But they want to stay in a space with no responsibilities, no strings, no promises. Here's the sad truth. When someone only wants to be with you in the present, they may enjoy what you bring, but they lack the courage to hold on to you for the future. They love the comfort of your presence. But commitment scares them because commitment requires maturity. Because it demands a choice. And making a choice means no longer keeping one foot out the door. The psychology behind this? They may have been hurt before. Disappointed. They fear that promises will lead to pain. So they avoid the future the same way they've always avoided hurt. But here's the problem, they're pulling you into that same loop. You offer hope, they return uncertainty. You plant trust, they sow doubt. And you start questioning yourself. Am I moving too fast? Am I asking for too much? Or, am I just not important enough for them to choose a future with me? No, you're not rushing. You're simply listening to your heart's longing. To be loved, and to be chosen. You deserve a love with a roadmap. You deserve someone who won't just hold your hand today, but will dare to look far ahead with you. Love isn't just a feeling. It's a commitment. A daily decision to choose each other. And if someone is afraid of that, remember this. Their fear is not your fault. And their uncertainty does not lessen your worth. If you've ever loved someone like that, don't blame yourself for loving wholeheartedly. But also, don't sacrifice your future just to hold on to a present that leads nowhere. Sign 4, they make you feel like you're not good enough. You constantly doubt yourself. They don't lift you up, they bring you down. Some relationships don't begin with pain. They start with sweet words, tender glances, and the feeling that you've finally been seen. But little by little, that begins to change. Not dramatically. Not loudly. Not in obvious ways. But like a silent crack beneath the surface, widening over time. You start to sense something's off. You used to feel confident, now you compare yourself. You used to be joyful, now you second-guess everything. You used to love yourself, but now you often wonder. What's wrong with me? Am I overreacting? Or, am I really not enough? They don't hurt you by yelling at you. They hurt you by making you feel small. They scoff when you share your dreams. They dismiss your emotions, calling you too sensitive. They ignore your efforts, but easily point out your flaws. And so you shrink. You dim your light. Not because you've changed, but because you're trying to fit into the version of you they've created. This is a dangerously subtle sign. When someone doesn't lift you up, but quietly erodes your inner value, you start to forget who you once were. You don't just risk losing them, you risk losing yourself. So hear this clearly. If a relationship makes you doubt your worth, it's not love, it's manipulation. Love is not making someone feel less than so they won't leave. Love is helping someone feel that they are enough. You don't need to become better to be loved. You need someone who sees that you're already whole, even in your flaws. Real love says, I see the cracks in you, but I don't use them to make you feel ashamed. So if you're in a relationship that constantly makes you doubt yourself, stop. Look deeper. And ask, is this person really loving me or making me forget how to love myself? Because you weren't born to be pulled down. You were meant to rise. To be seen in your fullness. And to be loved with all the gentleness you truly deserve. Sign 5, you feel like you're the only one trying. You're always the one reaching out, they just receive. There's a kind of loneliness that feels exhausting. Not because you're alone, but because you're the one holding the relationship together. You initiate the texts. You suggest meeting up. You apologize first, even when you're the one hurting. You try to connect, to repair, to compromise. And them? They just receive, as if your love is something they're entitled to. You don't expect grand gestures. Just a thoughtful message. A grateful look. A timely hug. But day by day, their indifference teaches you this painful truth. Love, if not mutual, becomes a burden. You start feeling alone in a relationship meant for two. You say we, but they always think I. You think you're loving, but really, you're carrying. And the exhaustion isn't because you're weak. It's because no one can love for two people. The hard truth is, no one should have to beg to be loved. No one should have to constantly reach out to hold on to someone who doesn't want to stay. You're not selfish for wanting reciprocity. You're not asking for too much when you hope someone will move toward you too. You just want to be loved the way you love. A relationship can only last if both people nurture it. Love isn't a test of who can endure the longest. It's a partnership where both choose to stay. So if you find yourself loving alone, pause. Gently ask your heart, am I loving a person or just holding on to a fantasy I created? And if that answer hurts, it may also be the moment you remember this. You deserve a love that doesn't leave you carrying it alone. A love that gives and receives. A love that walks with you, not one you have to chase. If you see yourself in these signs, please, don't blame yourself. Because you've loved with all your heart. You've hoped, been patient, and tried more than anyone could know. But you weren't born to hold on to a love that doesn't reciprocate. You weren't born to chase someone who doesn't appreciate you. And you certainly weren't born to lose yourself, just to be chosen by someone else. True love doesn't make you feel small. It helps you grow, it lets you be seen, understood, supported, and reached. Remember this. You deserve a love that doesn't require a struggle. A love that comes from both sides. A love that doesn't make you feel not enough, but helps you realize you've always been worthy. If you're hurting, allow yourself to heal. Because somewhere out there, someone is learning how to love you the right way. And the most wonderful thing you can do today is to love yourself first.